Welcome to DWBIADDA channel. Please subscribe for latest training videos.
Hello and welcome everyone to another video in the series of machine learning with Scikit-learn, and I'm very much excited today about the new topic that we are going to start with the series of videos in that. And one of the most topic which gave the image or the so much of news that we hear about machine learning possible today, that is the neural networks. So in this continuation of these videos, we'll be looking around the concepts and the terminologies, what made the neural networks, how they are, how they work. So let's move forward. So in this series of videos, we'll be looking at what are neurons, followed by what are actually the artificial neural networks and what is all that buzz about. After that, we'll be looking at the terminologies which are used to implement an artificial neural network, followed by implementation of the same in scikit-learn and in basic, followed by some of the examples that we can see. Okay, let's get started. So when we look at the artificial neural network, it simply comes from the word neural network, right, which is derived from something known as a neuron. Now this is our brain, and the brain actually works on the electrical pulses of phosphorus salts, which are flowing through the synapses of the neuron. And when one decision is taken by one synapse in the brain, a trigger is taken and we take a specific decision in our brain. That is how the neuron works inside the brains. So if we do look at this picture, we can see there's a lot of connection that is being shown using the synapse, taking the dots as the synapse which are connected to each other, making them a very dense neuron possible. Now this is considered as the world's fastest and the most powerful system that can ever been made, that is the human brain. So let's look much more closely what is a biological neuron. Now biological neuron contains something known as dendrites, the main cell body, and followed by the axons. Now what happens is when we get the flow from this path, it gets into this, we get the threshold or the working of decision through this, and once that is done, we take the output in the axon and the axon terminals. That is how a normal biological neural network works. Now similarly, inspired from the same, neural networks, artificial neural networks was developed in the same way. So what happens is you have your input unit from here that can be of multiple inputs, followed by the processing phase, and this is the place where the decision part takes happen, and then you trigger out the output which has been obtained from all the three inputs that we have got, which could either be passing one of the synapse or passing all of them by doing a specific experiment on that. Now this is what we call as an artificial neural network, and this is more of what we call as preferably deep learning or the dense artificial neural network. Now artificial neural network concepts were given back in the 1960s, but it's only been able to possible that everyone is able to implement it is because of the open source of the concept that has been taken place. So artificial neural networks needs majorly two things. One, that it needs a lot of data to process something, followed by it needs a lot of computation power, which we do need. So as we know, the data is increasing on an exponential rate in today's world, followed by the computation power that we are able to possess through computer is now available, which made the artificial neural network to get implemented now. And with the series of the libraries like scikit-learn, it's very much easy to implement the same. Now, let's talk about the working of an artificial neural network or a deep neural network. What happens is this is something known as the input layer. Now, input layer takes out the input, and we have two major things in an artificial neural network, that is the weight and the bias. So, when my input goes to the second layer, there are specific triggers which are allowed. For example, if I have a threshold of or having a simple condition that if my value is greater than 1, you allow it to pass, or else you don't allow it to pass. That kind of decision making happens in neural networks. So what happens is they get pretty good at understanding the concepts that we are giving them from the data. That means the artificial neural networks are unsupervised mainly, no, supervised mainly, and the conditions for having unsupervised artificial neural network is, for example, as the Boltzmann machines. Now, once a decision is passed through one specific layer, it goes to the second layer, making of the specific decision that is needed to be made from that. Once all the layers has been passed from or the hidden layers which have been taken the decision, we finally get the output. That is the overview of how does an artificial neural network or a deep neural network works. Okay, so the notebook is ready, and as we can see, artificial neural networks or the kinesis is the definition given by Wikipedia to us here. And what does it specifically means is that you're trying to mimic the part of the brain in which you have to make the computer learn in such a way that it's not been explicitly given rules to understand that, but it makes its own decision. Now, neural networks is taken to be as black box also. What makes them the black box is the processing phase of a neural network. Now, neural network works to a certain extent until it gets its perfect performances, and the working of it or the decision a neural network is taking is not necessarily always to be in a form of human understandable way. That's why neural networks are also known as black boxes. Okay, now that being clear, let's understand the only reason why artificial neural networks are getting so popular. Now, artificial neural networks are amazing at understanding a pattern in a specific problem. Now, there might be a condition that human is not able to draw any pattern in such, but an artificial neural network understands that pattern and able to draw out the maximum from that given specific situation. With that being said, let's start off with some of the terminologies in neural network, and we'll be starting off that in the next video. So thank you.